Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
We are your Colorado ACM team, your affiliate challenge masters for the Fine Arts Challenge this year called Picture This. And this is appraiser training. Let's see. Oh, here. There we go. First, we have Barb Peaster.
That's me.
From South Metro. We've got Lindsay Kennedy from Jeffco.
Hello.
And I'm Jess from Noco Canyon. So welcome.
All right. I think we're going to go through our challenge first, just so you have a little background of what we're expecting to see this year. And then we'll go through some specific things just for appraisers.
Before we get started, though, if you guys have any questions, put them in either the chat or the Q&A, and we'll get to them either as we're talking or we'll save them up and we can answer them at the end, depending on how well it flows into what we're talking about. But please don't hesitate to ask any questions. And if you have trouble hearing us or the connection is lost, just let us know and we can go back if you miss anything.
If you're watching this and it's recorded and it's not January 21st, then you can email any of us or text us if that info is out there. I'm not sure our phone numbers are on there, but there's, if you go to the Colorado DI, you'll be able to find all three of us and can send us any questions that you may have.
The emails are also at the end of the webinar, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about the challenge. So central challenge for our Picture This, there are four main elements. First is the photograph. Next is the story. Following that is the snapshot and the new development. So we are going to talk about those in a little bit greater detail on these next few slides. I do love lists.
Yes, Jess loves lists a lot.
Pretty type A. All right, so the photograph.
Must be publicly available. That means you can, the teams are able to use anything that's on Snapchat, Facebook, anything that's been published in a magazine, a book, almost a gazillion different things, as long as it's publicly available to anyone. They are allowed to use a single still image from any kind of a camera. So you can use a video. It can be taken by a non-member. And not produced by this challenge is kind of the big rule there. It's if they decide they want to do a particular skit, our hope is that they're going to find a great photograph and develop a story around that photograph.
Good photo pun.
Not,
you said develop.
Develop, I did say develop. And not the other way around. So you can't write a story and then have the team members either be in the photo or take the photo. So those are kind of the big rules, and that kind of takes care of the last one too. Team members cannot be in the photo.
Oh. So here's just some examples of some famous photos that you or your team may find, or the team may find out there. You may see these, or you may see some different types of photos. You can see that some of them have people, some of them don't have people. We've got animals, we've got space, we've got the whole 9 yards in there. And the other thing is, if you look at the photo in the bottom left-hand corner, that was taken with infrared and radio wave and various other types of cameras, which still produces an image that the team is welcome to use. It's just not the typical type of camera that we would generally consider, and that is perfectly okay. It's a wonderful thing. X-rays are also considered an image.
Yes.
There you go.
Which could be really cool.
Yeah. So we're just hoping to see some cool stuff.
All right. The story is the second large part of our challenge this year. It has to feature an unseen character that has an impact on the team selected photograph, including the real or imaginary setting, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it can, the events, I'm sorry, the unseen character has to impact events either before the photograph, after the photograph, or during the moment the photograph was taken. And the unseen character has to be concealed, camouflaged, unrecognized, outside of the boundaries,
Sorry.
camouflaged. And so I think the really key thing for us in this challenge,
Go ahead.
the really key thing for us as appraisers in this challenge is that just because an unseen character needs to be unseen, it does not mean that they need to be invisible or that they need to not be present. We might see a character have a complete moral shift and someone calls it out and says, oh, I didn't see that side of you. That counts. Or you can have a character who's seen the entire time, but maybe not seen by the people in the photo, but seen by the audience. Or vice versa, maybe the people in the audience don't see this person, but the people on stage can see them the whole time. It could be a photographer. It could be people who are outside of the picture boundaries. It could be people who are helping stage the photo. It could be anybody.
It could be a potted plant.
Yeah. It does not have to be an animate object. And that's something we definitely have to remember. That's a really good point. As long as the team can explain how this unseen character provides an impact on what they tell us it provides an impact on, it counts. So it doesn't, the definitions are really loose, but I think it'll lead to really great stuff.
It'll just be very important for the team to explain what it is that they mean in their paperwork. So you will all receive paperwork at the beginning of each challenge, and the team will explain to you what it is that they're trying to convey. So how are they interpreting concealed, camouflaged, unrecognized, or unseen?
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up later. There was a question about using a photo from a video, whether that could be I'm sorry, let me make sure I read it. Okay, where it could be a screen capture from a video, and that is absolutely acceptable. It's a single photograph taken with a camera, can't fight with that. So
as long as it's a single frame and it's the challenge implies still photograph. So that's kind of what we're going with it. That's what the International Challenge Masters are taking with it. As long as it's a still of anything, whether it's a live video, a GIF even, we'll take it.
that'll work.
Even a screenshot
Right.
will work.
Correct. Okay. A little bit more about the story. The unseen character may be anything that the team chooses. So, and it can be portrayed using any theatrical style, method, or manner. So this could be a voice that's coming from a different place. Like Lindsay was saying before, it could be somebody that's featured in the photo who is unseen because they've had a change of heart, or they're showing a different side of themselves. It could be a camouflage person in a camouflage photo. If you guys were watching this slideshow that was on before our full presentation here, you might have seen some of those different photo examples. The other thing about the unseen character is that there can be more than one. They can include as many unseen characters as they feel is important to their creative solution. However, only one unseen character will earn points. So that's another place where that paperwork comes in really handy to let us know which of these unseen characters is the one that we need to be focusing on and appraising appropriately.
It could even be if there are more than one unseen character, maybe they have 20 unseen characters. That could be one of the team choice elements if the team chooses to do that. So it's up to the team, and it's up to the team to also do an excellent job on their paperwork.
And that's why our prep appraisers, which you'll learn about a little bit more in a little bit later, is the prep appraisers in this challenge in particular are critical, because we need to make sure as prep appraisers that we are getting the message that the team is trying to get across to the appraisers. And if the prep appraiser misses something, that team could potentially lose points, and we want to make sure that all the things that they are trying to communicate to us are being communicated correctly.
All right. Last but not least on here, location of the story could be real, imaginary, any time period, past, present, future. They can put it however they want to be and however their creative hearts desires. So be ready for all kinds of exciting adventures in different places and times.
Yes.
Oh, this one. Okay. Now brings up the snapshot. So this is another very important part of the story. It is a pause, as you can see is highlighted, that recreates the team selected photograph. So there have been a lot of questions on the forums about this pause and recreating the photograph and how much does it have to look like it, how much is it? It really is up to the way that the team describes it. So if they tell us that that's their snapshot, then we're going to say, okay, that's their snapshot. They will provide us with a copy of their selected photograph, and we'll compare that paperwork of what it is that's their snapshot and how their interpretation is of that particular photograph.
And as a reminder, recreate could mean recreate exactly as it is on the page, or recreate could mean give new life and breathe fresh air into it. So depending on how well they tell us what to expect, we take it as that is the word that we go by. We don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be a perfect recreation to get the score that they want.
Right. And that snapshot, we're not looking for them to necessarily use the photo, but we are looking for them to make us feel like the essence of that photo. So we want to see them use theatrical techniques, artistic techniques, visual effects, any of those things that they want to use to make those, to really convey their snapshot. Has to be visible from 25 feet because that's how far away our audience might be. And pause is a definition up to the team. It could be a pause for half a second. It could be a pause for 5 seconds. However long the team defines it. 5 minutes. That'd be impressive if they're going to hold it for 5 minutes.
One of the things that's been on, that has been asked and answered is, can the snapshot be visible during the whole performance? And that's up to the team. If they would like that snapshot to be, a set thing that is on there, it's okay too. And it also says that it should be visible from 25 feet. So that is not something, we're not going to get out tape measures and measure it. It just means be careful, make sure that you really can see something. And you as an appraiser, if you can't see something, it's up to you to get up, move to where you can see it, and it's perfectly fine. Excuse me, if it's not 25 feet away. It just says it should be, not it must.
So you can still score that element. And I am known when I'm an appraiser to be up in that business. I will move around. I am up next to those kids, especially if they're the whisperers and you want to be able to hear what they're saying, because I really want to know what's that challenge about and where are all those points that I can give these kids. So the last thing about the snapshot is it has to be completely separate from the new development. Can't be the new development. Cannot be a part of it. Cannot be any part of it. Can come subsequent or before, but can't be part of the new development. And that's something we'll talk about next.
Yep.
Here's an example of what could be snapshots. I'm going to let Lindsay talk about this.
So these are, on the top left is a very famous Renoir painting. It's Dance at Bougival. Don't speak French, don't judge me. And then the top right is a scene, a screenshot of the Gilmore Girls episode where they recreate live art, where they recreate art using living people. And so the scene on the right is actually people painted and dressed to look like the painting on the left. And then the bottom image is just a flash mob entitled Freeze. So both of those work as pauses. It just depends on the definition the team is going for pause.
And I'd say while we're on here, let's talk a little bit about costuming, because look at that great costume on the right, the costumes that were done to try and reproduce this picture. Does not mean if they choose their costumes, or let's say the hat that the woman is wearing as a team choice element, it does not mean that you have to score the way they reproduce that snapshot. It doesn't mean you have to lower the hat or do it without the hat.
Yeah.
That was a rule of the road that used to be something that was binding, and that's been changed in the last few years, and a lot of appraisers really aren't aware that that is changed. That it used to be, the example was a clock on the scenery, and they did a great job on the clock, so they decided to take the clock, make it a team choice element, and that meant when you scored the scenery, which was a scoring element, that you had to score that scenery without the clock being there. Now that is no longer true. You score it as you see it, and you take that clock and score it separately. So it sounds like double dipping. It is not.
So to just be clear with that, so for this example with the Gilmore Girls live painting, if they did an amazing job creating this hat that is on the woman, the red hat, they could use that as a team choice element, and you would score the hat and whatever they have to say about the hat, and you would also score the full effect of the snapshot, which includes the hat.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
All right, so the new development, again, can't be part of the snapshot, but it is something that causes a change in perspective, beliefs, viewpoint, and or the thoughts of a character or one or more characters. It needs to be a visual effect that uses a photographic technique that we'll talk about in a minute. There's a chart of 12, I believe, 11 or 12. And then it may be created using any method, so it does not have to edit an actual photo. It can be made with practical effects. Some of them are going to be harder than others to do practically, but it would be really cool to see some of these effects as a practical effect. Mm-hmm. So for example, some of the things on the list are cropping. You may expect them to crop a photo in or out, which they can do. That's totally allowed. But we also might be able to see them cropping their stage with some sort of scenery or maybe a light change that will crop in or out what we can see as the audience. And so I think that if teams go that route, I think it could be really exciting. And I think that we should just be prepared to expect anything that could be a visual effect that mimics some of these photographic techniques that are often done on computers or on film. Again, has to be visible from 25 feet. It may include more than one photographic technique, even some that are not on our list, but as long as one is from our list is on or is included in that new development, we can score it, and that's the one that they'll get points for. And it, again, can't be part of the snapshot.
And it will be whatever they say on their paperwork. So when you get that as an appraiser, you're going to read that, you're going to know right away, this is what they would like us to score.
And it's not what we think is the visual effect. As long as the team can describe how what they're doing fulfills the definition of whatever effect they've chosen, that's the definition we go with. Even if we have a seasoned photographer on our appraiser team and they say that that's not what this is.
Wait, that's not tilt shift.
Yeah, tilt shift is the thing that you'll be
We'll talk about that.
There's a lot of things. But so let's say we have a photographer who gets kind of feisty and says that that's not what this effect is. That's not our job. Our job is to appraise on what the team tells us the visual effect that they're using is. So just remember, don't get too caught up in the reads of the details of the visual effect.
Right. So photographic techniques that can be used for the new development are listed here, and we'll go in a little bit more depth in a minute here on each of them so you can see examples of what these effects are going to look like and what cool things we might see from our teams.
Multiple exposure effect, it's pretty straightforward. It's just 2 exposures on the same film. It can be done digitally, it can be done practically. It could also be done with stage effects, which I think could be really cool. The first image is like a construction zone and a roller coaster merged in together, and then the second image is a kitty cat with a forest, because obviously
that makes sense.
Perfect sense. And then the last image on the right there is just from, it's a Kristen Bell was taken in 2 poses, and then they merged them together because it was the show that it's talking about is kind of a unseen character from all the main characters, is why that's that way. So
okay, cool. This is the cropping again, showing a very famous piece of art, and then showing just the most famous of all with the fingertips touching. And I think we will see a lot of this because I think kids are used to doing this technique. So I think this is one that probably will show up, but we will find out together.
And just as a side note, yes, this is a photograph of a painting, and that is an acceptable thing because it's still a photograph of
Correct.
that painting. So just to clarify. Focus and depth of field. So this is something that could be super fun with practical effects and just showing the way that things show up differently, whether they're closer or farther away. And there's lots of different ways that those could be demonstrated, but here's just kind of a practical photo to help kind of push out or schematic. We're going to call that a schematic to kind of demonstrate what the way that those focuses and depth of field can really change things. So,
and it's actually, we're sort of
We're a very good example of depth of field.
there you go.
because
Depth of
I'm
field.
seeing far, far away from the camera.
And I'm way too close.
And Lindsay's
And it's
just right.
Just right.
High speed is taking pictures very, very quickly. Some of that also shows a multiple exposure too, the one on the bottom
With the
there
bikes.
with the bicycles. Sometimes you need a special kind of camera, special kind of film even for high speed. I don't know what else to say about high speed, but
There's a lot of ways to do this digitally. I'm not sure it's as practical, so we may not see this one as practically as much, but there are ways to do it with like strobe lights and whatnot to make motion stop. So I think that it could be really great to see all the types that we can see, especially every person on the planet's got slow-mo on their phones these days. So
That's true.
and if the kids say it's high speed,
it's high speed.
it's high
It's
speed.
high speed. All right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a bubble bursting to count.
Now, some people think setting the cruise control at 35 is high speed.
Just
Just saying. Infrared, this is just another example of using a different type of camera. So here we just got the joy of learning what Pluto looks like through different eyes. If you look at the photo on the left, that is a photo taken, it was like the Hubble,
Yeah, the
and
Hubble.
what is that? It's like radio waves or something.
Yeah.
And then when you move to the photo on the right, that is the same planet, Pluto, but taken with an infrared camera. So you can see that it looks very different just depending upon the way you're capturing the light and which type of camera you're using. So it's possible that they could bring practical effects in to mimic that. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I do think it'd be lots of fun to see something that is not visible to the naked eye.
Until
And-
something happened.
Until it's in infrared and now you can see it.
And
Oh,
it
I
was
didn't see that
unseen.
there.
So we'll see what we get.
Right?
Oh, this is
This one's
Lindsay's.
This is mine. If you don't know me, you will know me at some point. I'm a nerd, so I had to include Star Trek in our presentation. But anyhow, the reason I did is because the current director of the Star Trek films loves lens flares, and it's gotten to the point where his wife will call him up and say, "I can't even see what's happening on the screen. Please stop." And so the cool thing about lens flares, though, is they could make someone unseen. So
I can barely recognize Chris Pine
yeah,
now.
who is that Chris? Which of the Chris's is he? And so it could be used in a really cool way to make the unseen character unseen or to reveal them. And so the picture on the right is just a diamond ring effect from a solar eclipse, and it's a flare, but it's people seek that flare out instead of not wanting it, like the one on Star Trek.
And if you think about that ring effect, right before you get the ring effect, you really would not be able to see the solar flares that are just down just below the lens flare to the left, that red flare. Oh, look, it was unseen. But now you
Unseen.
can see it. Oh, look at that.
We do love puns, our team, so
It's super
you're
fun.
welcome. This will be me again. I've gotten a lot of nonsense for this slide. It was only because he is one of the most photographed people on the planet. It's not because I have an obsession with Brad Pitt. Anyhow, I wanted to show you what a face looks like from different angles, but also with different lighting. And we can definitely see a lot of practical effects with lighting. Even though the kids can't turn off the lights in the site because of safety, they can figure out, if they can figure out ways to light their set in weird or different ways on their own, I hope that they do. And so the one on the left is Mr. Pitt, full on, very, very fully lit, looks like an average Joe. The one in the middle is lit from the side. He's a little bit more mysterious, kind of a man of mystery, but not.
I'd date him.
I'd date him. Kate, you can edit that out. That's fine. And then the one on the right, he's lit from the back. It's kind of a red light, so you get kind of the impression that he's not necessarily he's not necessarily a good guy. And it's all the same person. Again, he's an actor, so it's a bit of a different thing. But lighting can really change how you see something, and that's what this slide is about. It's not about Brad Pitt.
My guess is we'll see a lot of this.
Yeah.
Especially
Actually,
with younger teams, but
because lighting can be amazing. So
long exposures. So long exposure is kind of fun. We this is when you leave your shutter open for a while and just watch the movement of what's happening be displayed on the photograph. So on the left is a photograph of the stars, and you can see the turning of the Earth. In the middle, you have, it's an LED light being moved at a fast pace with open shutter. And on the left, the right, other way, there is that soft focus looking on the water, which is that same kind of long exposure effect.
And optical filter, we're probably all pretty familiar with those because you do see them all the time. Simply putting a filter in front of the lens can really change what a photograph looks like. I think as far as kids using this, I think it's one of the ones that most people are used to. And this is probably a good time also to say that the kids might choose a photo for their actual piece of photography at the beginning. And it is a picture that's been taken with an optical filter. That is perfectly fine. Yeah. They can do that. And then they can also, it doesn't change, they don't have to change the picture back to the way it would have been without the filter. So it's fine to use a photo with a filter and still choose one.
And still choose
this
optical filter
as their technique. And we all love the reflection.
We do. The reflection is one of my favorite techniques, and I hope that we see it in unique ways, just because the image on the left is obviously a photo. It's being taken by the person whose shoes we can see. But just think of the unimaginable amount of unseen characters in this photo, even though we can only technically see one person.
Can we see them?
We can't. He's unseen, or they're unseen. And so all the people in all the buildings are unseen. The people in the airplanes are unseen. The photographer is technically unseen because you can't actually see the whole person. It's just feet. There's probably traffic around this human being, and there's probably police officers around this human being protecting said human being from traffic. So just the amount of unseen characters in this photo is phenomenal, and it's all reflection, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. I do too, and I can totally see someone using mirrors to make it work, using zooming in and showing you what the airplane looks like, or one of the windows in the building, and there just might be an unseen character lurking there.
And I've had teams do a hologram. It was a hologram effect using different sheets of plexiglass and light aimed in a different way. And I think that this would be a cool technique to use with that technique, the practical technique. But again, whatever we see and the kids tell us what it is how we'll score. So, and then the image on the right is just a spoon on a countertop, and it doesn't really look like a spoon. So I think that the use of reflection can really change what we're looking at. And I I hope that teams get to that point as well, because we can see a lot of crazy stuff in reflections.
I've had a change in perspective.
See, puns. We love them.
Tilt shift, the illustrious tilt shift, as mentioned earlier, is one of those kind of harder concepts to kind of wrap your mind around. If you read the slide right here, this is what Google tells you, but let me give you a more digestible definition of what tilt shift is. So tilt shift is kind of, it's used in architecture often because it takes kind of a wide angle lens and straightens out all the lines. So if you just use a wide angle lens, everything looks kind of wall-eyed and fish-eyed. Whereas when you see these photos that you're looking at here, everything's nice and straight and they all kind of look like toys. The way that the filter works, it straightens everything out and does give it that kind of toy look. Don't worry, the picture on the right with the airplanes is not just tilt shift, but also multiple exposure. Those planes are not on top of each other at any airport.
Don't worry. But yeah, so tilt shift changes the focus of what you're looking at, but mostly it's used to correct wide angle flaws. And we didn't know that until we had a photographer. No, he was an architect.
No, he was an orthopedic surgeon.
Oh, right. Who worked
Turned
with
photographer.
Architects or something.
Yeah.
And he told us what tilt shift is actually used in reality. And it made so much more sense than what you can Google. And so I hope that teams, if they choose this effect, I hope that they have access to someone who can give them a little bit more light on what it actually means, because Google is not helpful.
Right.
Zooming, that's one of the things we've already talked about in some ways too, that to zoom in and makes the photograph look closer than it actually is. I think you will see a lot of this, but we're just guessing at this point. Bringing something in, making it closer, or zooming out and being able to see more of the picture. Very applicable to this challenge because we're looking for a change in perspective and changing whether you're close to something or it's a distance away will definitely help with that change.
All right, well, that wraps up our photographic techniques. So now we're talking a little bit about the scoring. So scoring's a little bit different this year. Historically, it's been broken up a little bit more than it is here. But as you can see, the story is almost half of the points available in this particular challenge. So 46% of points go to the story, and that's going to focus a lot on integration of the photograph and the unseen character.
And I think one of the reasons why this looks like it's so heavily weighted is that there are 5 elements being scored in the section called story.
Right.
And so it just encompasses an awful lot. And when you get down to the next, the snapshot only has 2. And then the new development, there are 3 places where it's scored. And then the only other 2 things are your team choice elements. So that kind of explains it a bit better. The story is very important, but it's also because we're scoring the story in lots of different ways.
And the good thing about having an appraisal team is that not every person will be responsible for scoring every element. We break it up so that not just one person is scoring any one element. There's always a mixture of at least 2 or 3 people scoring each element. But you don't have to worry that if you miss something that it's going to be the end of the world. You'll have specific things to be watching for, and everybody will have their assignment in order to encompass that entire final score at the end.
Right. And on the off chance that you do miss something, your teammate who is also scoring the same thing will be able to say, oh yes, that was there, don't worry. And so if we ever have to give zeros, it has to be an agreed upon choice. It can't be one appraiser scoring A1 of the story, giving a 0, and then the other people scoring it, giving 25s. So you will never be doing anything by yourself, and it's always a team effort. And our job is to make sure we give as many points as we possibly can to these children that they've earned. And if you didn't see it, make sure you ask your team if they saw it or heard it or whatever.
And when the skit is over, you're going to have time to talk to the kids and ask them to tell you what they like the most, tell you how things worked. And they will be, for the most part, very anxious to talk to all of you. So that's a place where if you missed something, you're not going to score till after you've talked to the kids.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about scoring and how that's going to happen this year too in a few minutes.
And sometimes if there's an element that did not work during their actual performance, that time after the performance that you have to talk with those team members will give you the opportunity to see it work if they can get it to work during that time, or at least understand how it was supposed to work, and then you can still score that element.
Right, you can score the design or the creativity. You may not be able to score the integration if it did not work in the performance itself, but you can score everything else as you would have, which is why it's not as harsh if it didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, this is
Little animation.
Little hey, it's so much. Okay.
So we have, every challenge has about the same type of jobs in terms of scoring positions. We probably should have also added into this list, a challenge master will be at the site with you. Often they are the head appraiser at each site, not always though. So sometimes the challenge master, who is us, and there are regional challenge masters as well, they run the site, they make sure things go according to plan. They also often, again, are the head appraiser. The head appraiser is the person who gives back scores to teams. They keep the day on track. They kind of keep the appraiser team going.
I fetch coffee for my people, so if you want to come to Noco Canyon, I will come take care of you.
Same with Jeffco. I fetch coffee. I'm a good fetcher.
Well, I'll put in a pitch for our single
well,
regionals too. Yes, we feed
both
you
of these
well.
guys are on the same day, so come to Jeffco.
Sounds good.
And actually, while we're there, you can go to more than one challenge, and we'd love you to do that.
Yeah,
Right.
you can do more than one challenge as an appraiser, not at the same tournament, unless it's a shorter day for some challenges, or you can also do different challenges at different tournaments, or the same challenge at multiple. We'd love to have you at a lot of them, but you're not required to do more than one.
I think there's a tournament just about every Saturday throughout
from last
February 29th through the end of March.
Yep.
So I'm going to one every time. I'm glad to bring you with me.
Jess and I are going to all the far away ones, unless weather gets in the way. And then we'll try to be at every metro area one as much as we can. A lot of them are on the same days though, so you may not see us as your ACMs at all of the local tournaments just because they're stacked pretty heavily this year.
So speaking of other scoring positions, so the prep appraiser is a really essential appraiser this year. Prep appraiser speaks with the team prior to their performance time and really looks at safety checks and paperwork and making sure that we have a very clear understanding of what the expectation is for us as an appraisal team of this performance. So we know what the photograph is going to look like, what kind of new development are we going to see?
What kind of snapshot are we going to see?
Right. What are those team choice elements? What are we going to be looking for? So we really know how to break those down. So when we're watching, we can make sure to see those things and award as many points as possible. We will probably get together a quick checklist to help the prep appraiser be a little more streamlined in the process, because it can be a daunting task. But it's one of the funnest areas. It's
fun.
Absolutely my favorite
Agreed.
Appraisal position to fill.
Agreed.
Prep appraiser.
You are the first person that greets the teams.
Yep.
You're going to try to put them at ease
Yep.
and make them feel comfortable.
And
And
excited.
you will stay with them until it's their time to enter the launch area. And then you will turn them over to the next person, who's the timekeeper announcer. Did you have more to say about prep?
Just that the prep appraiser is also in charge of making sure that the team has done everything safely and is being safe. So the prep appraiser's job is to make sure that the team is wearing some sort of sole on their feet, whether that's a flip-flop or a ballet shoe or whatever.
Or a steel-toe boot.
Steel-toe boot. Just don't kick anybody.
Please.
But it's also, we want to make sure that if we have a strobe light, that we can have time to warn the audience that in case they have any sensitivities to strobe lights, or certain sites allow dry ice, as long as you have dry ice and the safety precautions to handle it correctly. That's the prep appraiser's job, is to make sure that everyone's safe and that things are happening in a good way so that the team can do as well as they can.
And kind of up to the team manager to have checked out those things ahead. Most schools don't allow like helium balloons anymore. So all of those things should be okay. But I know we have had a lot of kids come to tournament with pretend firearms. If they look very realistic, they are not allowed. There's a absolute zero tolerance at most schools. So that's one of the things prep appraisers will check for. Some weaponry is allowed. It needs to look clearly that the team made it and that it is a replica and not something that is really a weapon. So I don't want to get into that today, but it is something that the appraisers have to be cognizant of. When you get the paperwork, it will be as the timekeeper announcer gets the kids, and the prep appraiser usually brings you that paperwork or gives it to the timekeeper announcer, and he or she will bring you the paperwork. As you read over it, you don't get too many minutes to read over their paperwork, but it's super important that you understand what the kids would like you to be scoring. If there's any question about you're not understanding it, talk among yourselves. At that time, it's fine to talk about it and say, do you understand this? If you do not, that is a question that you can ask the timekeeper announcer to ask the kids, or you can ask through your head appraiser, or the challenge master, if the challenge master and head appraiser are not one and the same, because we don't want people saying, I don't get this, I don't want the kids to do this, I want them to pick something else. That's not your position.
It's not your job.
So, not your job this time. If you don't understand it, then let's make sure you understand it. And we can always go ask the kids so that you're sure when they're performing that you're understanding what they've chosen and you recognize it.
The one caveat I would add to that is if in their description they're describing one thing that's being appraised in a different area, like say they've chosen a team choice element and they're describing the snapshot, well, that's not something that would work. So as a prep appraiser, you would hopefully catch that and ask them if they have something else that they feel would be worthy of appraising as a team choice element.
Right.
So sometimes there will be some clarifications like that, but for the most part, if they say that's what they want us to score, that's what we're going to score.
Yeah. And then Barb mentioned it. So then we have a timekeeper announcer. They are the people who, so the prep area appraiser gets the team jazzed and less nervous. The timekeeper announcer gets the audience jazzed and keeps things on time, thus the timekeeping part of their job. They keep the team less nervous from when they are in prep and in the launch area to before they go on. They also, again, are announcing, thus their name. And Jess often comes up with fun scripts, because the script sent to us by DAHQ is a little bit dry. It's very informative, but it's a little bit dry, so we try to spice it up.
I like rhymes. I like poems. I like jazzy folks in that position.
Exactly.
And
you can't be afraid. You can't have stage fright as a timekeeper announcer. You have to love to talk to people. You have to have fun, and you have to really, I think that you have to love DI, even if you're new to it. I think that it's a really fun position, and you get to see everybody, and you get to, the timekeeper announcer is kind of the theme of the day. And if they're having a bad day, the entire site has a bad day.
it's my second favorite
Mine
job.
too.
I've never been a timekeeper announcer.
It's really
but,
fun. You should try it.
We have a wonderful
Oh, yeah,
timekeeper announcer
Oh yeah.
at South Metro, and fingers crossed he'll be available that day. I know we've talked about it. He is very good. He has a wonderful, booming voice, and if you're not a booming voice,
We'll get
keep
you
in
a
mind
mic.
that most of the sites
Yeah.
are quite small,
Yeah.
and it's not something that would keep you out of being a
Right. You don't
timekeeper
necessarily
announcer.
need to be able to announce the Broncos games to
Right.
do well at this job. It's really fun.
And sometimes these are separated, and a timekeeper could just be the one with their cell phone, if that keeps you, if that's comfortable for you. And an announcer could just announce and be with the kids until they say, "Team, are you ready? You may begin."
Oh, that's my dream job.
So, yeah, well, there you go. We can make that happen.
Right. All right, and now we're moving on to Central Challenge appraisers. So this will be a team of somewhere between 3 and 5 challenge appraisers who will look at those specific elements, those scoring elements, have them divided amongst them, and really award those points for the performances that they're seeing. So this is where we encourage you. So it seems intimidating to step in and be the person awarding those points. I encourage you and implore you to think about it as, oh, you're not scoring them, you're awarding points.
Yes.
You're looking for where they've done well and awarding them for what they have accomplished.
You're not looking for zeros.
Yeah. We have some kind of cheat sheets to help you. They call it a scoring rubric to kind of help you understand the full range of scores. We do a 1 to 30 score on every scoring element, and we encourage you to use the entire range.
Yes.
So go all the way down to the single digits, go all the way up to the 30, depending upon what it is that you're seeing. We will usually hold scores back for a little bit at the beginning so that you can kind of get a barometer for what kind of things are you going to be seeing. Because you never really know walking in, okay, well, that was really awesome. What am I going to see next? And now you see the next team comes on.
Which is
it was
really, really
even
awesome.
more awesome. And you're like, well, son of a gun, what do I do with that? So we do hold scores back so you can kind of adjust. But we do encourage you, again, like I said, use that entire range. We're awarding points, not taking them away, and making sure that everybody gets the credit for the work that they've done and for the creative solution that they brought to us.
And really, if things are quite similar, don't feel like, well, I didn't give a 1 today, I must be a terrible appraiser.
Right.
Sometimes you're not going to see
Sometimes
a 30, and you're not going to see anything under 10. So
Fingers
it just
crossed.
means don't just judge everything or award points based on exactly that midpoint.
Yeah.
Right.
And one thing to remember, especially as Central Challenge appraisers, based on age, children learn certain things in school. And so you will likely see a theme all day, no matter what the challenge is and no matter what the photographs are. So, for example, 4th graders learn about the history of their state. And so you see a lot of Colorado history in 4th grade performances. 3rd grade tends to learn about recycling, so we see a lot of recycling themes. Just because it happened at the very first challenge of the day does not mean it's less creative if it happens every single challenge or team for the rest of the day. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you're scoring.
And remember, we're starting out fresh at every tournament, at every site.
At every team.
And every level.
Right,
Yeah.
and at every level. And if you were a team manager and you're trying to remember thinking, but the kids that were on my team were so much better, so I'm going to score everybody low ball. That's not okay either. You need to forget about what you've done. It's a different challenge. It's a different day. It's a different tournament. Everybody gets a fresh start.
Yeah.
All right, challenge clerk is something that will be new this year because we will be in many of the regions using what we call mobile scoring.
Yes.
You will be scoring on a smartphone. You will be scoring on a tablet or a laptop computer. And you do need to bring that to to the tournament. I'm sure there will be some, you'll have some time to make sure that what you're working with is going to work for you. Once we know which regions you're allowed to go to, you'll know whether or not, or which regions you've selected to go to and be an appraiser. We'll know whether that region is going to use the mobile scoring or just use traditional scoring where you use paper and pencil. Next year, the hope is that every region will be using it, but I think most of the regions will be using it this year.
Yeah.
You will be sent a link to use and can practice. Oh, mobile scoring. So,
yeah, let's talk about that.
all right, let's go with that.
Just to go back to the last slide, the challenge clerk is kind of what the number cruncher used to be. Paperwork, herder, kind of they keep things on track. They make sure everything's submitted correctly. But the only difference is they're not submitting scores like they used to. So it's up to you as the appraiser to hit submit on your own scores. Is basically the difference. So mobile scoring, super duper fun and super duper easy. It's not scary. It's not hard.
It's
Barb and I have
easier.
both done it.
It's faster. It's definitely more efficient, and it's just a lot more fun to be able to use it. And Lindsay and I both have scored at Global Finals, where that was the first time we used mobile scoring. And there was really, I mean, maybe it takes you 5 minutes to take a look and kind of walk around the program for a few minutes. We used it was 3 years ago now, I think. We used it at Globals, and it's just now this year finally working its way into, it has been used in a few different regions at a few different sites. But I don't know that a Fine Arts Challenge has used it yet. But we both scored fine arts at Global Finals, and it didn't take any time at all to learn it, learn the program. I did it on my smartphone. A lot of people use tablets. A few people brought their laptop computers. We had in front of us, electronics so that we could plug right into it, so a power strip, and we could make sure we had enough power to last for the day.
Yeah.
It really was never a problem.
Right, and we will have power strips and outlets available to you. Just please make sure that you bring a charging cable, because we can't guarantee you'll have one that'll match your phone or tablet.
It's so about a week before the tournament, once you've selected the tournaments that you go to that Barb mentioned, you'll get an email from us in some fashion that has a link to the mobile scoring. It's like an active site. And you'll be able to test it out on your device. As challenge masters, we will ask all of our teams, our appraisal teams, that they practice before you get to tournament, if you have the ability. And then the day of, we'll make sure that all of your devices are, sorry, we have the cutest dog here, and she's being so super duper cute.
We're about 50 minutes in, that's when she goes crazy.
Yeah, she gets a little bored. So it's you'll practice on your device at home. If you have any questions, you can let us know, and we can help you as much as we can. Otherwise, bring it to the site the day of. We'll make sure everything gets turned on and logged in, and it's super easy. I actually like mobile scoring because it allows you more time with the teams, because you're not futzing with paperwork as much. It's all done through the DI website instead of
you don't have to download an app or anything weird on your phone.
And you don't have to sign in with personal information or anything. I think that's it.
That's pretty much
mobile scoring.
the big stuff on
I don't know, because my puppy decided she probably didn't even know she was here, because she was very quiet until about 4 minutes ago. And she probably needs to go use the facility, so we're going to let her go out.
But it's really super fun, and I hope that you guys enjoy mobile scoring as much as we do, because it makes everything feel faster and more efficient. But also, I think, again, it allows me to connect more with the teams, because I don't have a pile of paperwork in my hands. Okay, this is critical. Sometimes people assume that because they're children that they don't necessarily warrant the same level of respect that an adult might, and that's wrong. So we tell this to every appraiser, whether you've been appraising for 10 minutes or whether you've been appraising for 10 years. Make sure that you are talking to children like they deserve your respect, because they do. Be kind. Nice. Get on their level if you can. Don't hurt yourself doing it. But make sure that you are not towering above them, because it's very intimidating for not a 3-year-old. There will not be 3-year-olds here. I'm a preschool teacher. There's 3-year-olds in my world. But 5 and up is what you'll see. So make sure that you are down talking to them. If you don't feel comfortable getting down on your knees, can you bend over a little bit and squat, or make yourself a little bit shorter so that you can be a little bit more on their level? Or
I like to sit at a table with them,
Yeah,
or
I
sit
like
on
to
the
lean.
floor with them.
Yeah. So just get on their level, make sure that they feel comfortable. And because they're really nervous. Talking to appraisers is really scary as a team, even though they know that we are here to help them and be their friend. It's scary. We've been team members, it's intimidating. Even if you know you did really well, it's still really intimidating to be asked questions about how you did stuff and why you did stuff. And sometimes you forget the answers, and then you feel like you're going to let your team down. And so just make sure you get on their level, focus on the positive. Don't walk up to a team who had this amazing skit and amazing performance and everything is flawless and shiny that you're assuming is interference. Don't assume that there's interference.
That is actually not our job. Our job is to find where
Correct.
the points are, not take points away.
Yeah, and so if you come up to a kiddo who's, let's say, 7, and you ask them, did your mom help you with this? Of course they did. They're 7. So mom took me to the store. Mom took me, helped me at the paint counter because I can't lift a gallon of paint. Mom brought snacks. Big help for 7-year-olds.
That is not interference, by the way. You
That's
can
not
feed them
interference.
all you want.
They are allowed to
drive
be
them.
fed. So
Yeah.
just make sure that your questions are relevant and positive, but also not trying to dig for interference, because we're not trying to find it. It will be visible. If it's there, we can find it. But don't dig for it.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why appraisers often wear goofy costumes, silly hats, and we try to make ourselves look more approachable. And so that's the reason why you will see if this is your first tournament, you may be surprised at the crazy getup some people, and the lengths that some people go to just look approachable by the kids. We want them to feel happy, to feel good about what they've done. And if there are some places where we do have to, sometimes you do have to take some points, and usually that's done as a percentage if someone has not exactly followed the rules along the way. And if you're not sure about that, that's why we try and always pair new appraisers with more experienced appraisers, so that you can always get that feedback from someone as to how the scoring is going for the day.
And the most important thing is ask about their journey. They have spent a lot of time to get to this 8-minute performance, and then all of a sudden it's done. And for most of the kids in our program, the regional tournament is the only tournament they're going to get. And so ask them about their journey. Ask them about what they learned. Ask them about what they enjoyed. Ask them if they had fun. That's an easy question.
What they're most proud of.
Yep.
What was the most enjoyable to make? What are you going to miss about DI now that you're done? That's going to be the case for all of the rising stars are done after one tournament. Do we have anything else on sticky notes, or we didn't
We didn't put anything else.
So as an appraiser, pretty much everyone writes a little note to the team. It's kind of a little love letter, and you'll get a sticky note, probably like a 3x3. Sometimes we find stickers to put on them just to make it look like just a fun blast of color and good wishes to the team. It's not a place to give advice.
Nope.
It is a place to say, that you thought they looked like they were having fun, you enjoyed their performance, not to say this was the best one I saw all day. We don't give that kind of information out.
You can say something's great. Say, I loved your dragon, or your dragon blew me away if it blows fire or something. Puns are great on sticky notes.
Yes.
But everything positive, and actually that's one of the parts that one of the jobs that the clerk will have is to arrange all the notes on the sticky piece of paper that will go back to the kids. Usually that's the part that we've all enjoyed. We have till 8:30.
Oh, no.
But yeah, we do, but we don't have to.
Okay.
So I lost my
Sorry,
train
my
of
bad.
advice. I am sorry.
Sticky notes, clerk.
Clerk is arranging the sticky
Okay,
notes
the
on the paper.
clerk's gonna look at those, and if there is a negative comment, we'll take it off. The kids we don't want the kids to see that, and if one gets by, you know, we'd really hate to see that happen. So just make sure your notes to the kids. I know what else I was going to say. When you sit down and talk to the kids, and after the performance, if you are the one who's going, the head appraiser, you always want to try and take the kids someplace where others can't hear you talking about them. So even if you're getting coffee in between performances, or use the restroom, that's not a place to talk about what
Any
you've
teams.
seen.
Right.
You don't want to talk about the teams unless you're sure the door is closed, and that's one of the things we do is close the door, and we all talk about, like the first three, we'll discuss what did we see, what made sense to us.
Just always comport yourself like you're being listened to, because you probably are. Even if it's not something that is salacious, sometimes things that we say can be taken out of context.
Correct.
And we don't want a team to be hurt because of something they think we said, even if we didn't actually say it. And we want to make sure that these kids leave having a great day, even if their scores are not great.
Right.
And
back into sticky notes, sometimes it can be difficult to figure out what to write on there. So we will have suggestions at each site that help you kind of decide something you can say. So it's called some sticky suggestions. It'll be kind of like a little cheat sheet of ways to help cue you how to say something nice on sticky notes when things maybe didn't go as well as the team would have liked.
And if you can be specific, that's great. Sometimes what we do, especially with mobile scoring, we do not want people taking their phones or their devices to the area where they're going to watch the kids. Usually there's a table that'll be set up for appraisers, and after you're done talking to the kids, you will go sit down at that table. That's where your phone or your tablet or your laptop will live for the part of the day where you're scoring. You can take your little pad of sticky notes with you and write a sticky while you're watching the kids. You know, if you see you love the frog puppet, by the time you get back after talking to the kids, it was like, was that a frog or was it, you know,
caterpillar?
A mouse? Yeah. So write a little note to yourself so that you're ready to get that sticky note right where it was, and you can be specific about something that caught your eye.
And it's just remember, you're there to have fun. You're also there to make sure these kids have a great day. And so if you're having a great day, they'll probably have a great day too.
Okay, so no more questions have come up
Nope,
yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
So why do we appraise? Well, number one, it's so fun.
So fun.
Oh my God. Number two, it's rewarding. And number three, you will be well fed.
Oh, yes.
We're going to take good care of you. We promise.
Maybe not so many hot dogs.
There will be other options.
So it is a fun day, and we really want to thank you for watching this tonight. We hope you made it all the way through.
We've still got everybody.
We would love to meet all of you in person. We will be doing this again
in a few weeks.
Yeah, in a few weeks. February.
I don't know the date for sure, so don't quote me on it.
8th, I think. because February 1st, I think we're February 8th. It's Saturday. And
We'd love to see you in person.
It is coming up. So if you'd like to, or if you have questions, or you'd just like to hear most of this one more time, we'll feed you there too, because Kate's very good at doing, we probably won't feed you personally, but I can guarantee there will be food. We do ask most people bring their own water bottles now, so that we can refill them there and not add to a problem.
So for your information, here's our email contacts for your fine arts ACMs. We do have phone numbers. I think they're available on the website. So
I'm not sure
I don't
they
think
are, but if you want to just send us an email, we'll send you a phone number if that's easier for you. And we all love texting, so text is great too. We will get to emails usually within 24 hours, maybe sooner than that. So, but probably not a lot after, unless there's
it'll be no more than 24 hours for me.
No. And if you want, you could actually send it to all three, and that way everybody can kind of chime in if you have any questions. So
that's perfect.
Hope to see you soon. Thanks for joining us tonight.
And like I said, we'd love to see you at all three of our tournaments. It would be hard to see you at these two just because they're on the same day, but we have lots of tournaments for about 6 weeks, and we'd love to see you at any of them or all of them. It's not a requirement that you come to all of them, but we'd love to see you there, and we hope that you have a really fun time because it's a really fun program that means a lot to a lot of kids.
And we will be looking, as soon as the tournaments are underway, we will be looking to staff the state tournaments also, so the affiliate tournament, which I don't have that date in my head yet either, but it's after probably the first, I think it's the first Saturday in April. Does that sound right?
Yeah, April 4th.
Okay, April 4th. So,
right.
Excellent.
Anybody else have any other questions? You want to type into the QA or the chat?
If you don't have any questions today, but you think of some, just shoot us an email, or you can also email Kate. But we will be in contact shortly. We can send you the webinar PowerPoint. We can also, and Kate can also send the stuff out that we've referenced. But we will be in contact in order to recruit for our tournaments, and all of the regional challenge masters will also be in contact. So just keep an eye on your email.
We just got a question if there are any clarifications.
There aren't any published ones yet.
Any published.
So if you don't know, a team can ask a question of the International Challenge Masters on the challenge. It can be a team-specific question, or it can be a question that affects everyone. So it might be a rule change or a specification on a part of the challenge. As of yet, there haven't been any published clarifications, which are the ones that affect everyone. There have been about 70, I think, team clarifications, but they all mostly relate to things like the new development and what that means, and if we have more than one effect, or the snapshot, what does recreate actually mean? Do we have to show the photograph? Does the photograph have to be in color? Kind of that type of stuff.
Can we show the photograph?
Can we show the photograph? Must we show the photograph? But there have been no published things. But if there are, your regional challenge masters will bring them with you to this, or with them to the site, so that you'll have that information hopefully beforehand. But if not, you'll get it the day of.
And if any teams have written for a clarification
that just affects their team,
bring that to the site, and you will be able to read that. And we go with whatever the International Challenge Masters have pointed to, different sections of either the rules of the road or the challenge, to answer whether or not it is something that can be done.
And for the most part, if it can be done, it's allowed. I don't love the rule that if it doesn't say you can't, you can, because it kind of encourages kids to not break the rules, but not follow the rules. But what I also love about DI is that it allows people to think outside the box and to come up with clever ways to solve a problem that everyone else is
Mhm.
also facing. And so that's where I do love that rule where it doesn't say you can't, you can, as long as we're not encouraging them to break the rules is my big thing.
Mhm.
All right, guys.
Okay. We're going to
Great.
say goodnight
Good night.
and hope to see you all soon.
Hopefully this is very interesting when it's pre-recorded. Because I'm sorry if it's not.
Oh gosh. Thanks, guys, and have a great night.
Is there a Q&A?
It's a challenge.
Oh. If you right there. No, just click stop video.
Oh.
And then click maybe this guy.